And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the heart of the Inland Empire, right here in sunny Southern California, it's Robert Cardoza Live, where we talk about politics, money, and you. This is the intersection of business and politics. And now here's your host, Robert Cardoza.
And welcome aboard. I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And boy, I'll tell you what, it's nice to be back. We've been off for a couple of weeks for the holidays. And boy, I hope that your holidays have been as wonderful and memorable as mine have been. It's just been a real joy. You know what? We're going to have a great show for you today. It's going to be an exciting show. Everybody's back for the first time in a couple of weeks. On today's show, we're going to talk about what's in the news. New legislation, the IRS loses. And, of course, we'll continue our segment, the rest of the story. That's the tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey. And our own buddy here, Sean LaFave. He'll be here later on. He'll be talking about health care and his segment geared for wellness. You know what? We haven't talked to Sean in a couple of weeks. God only knows what we're going to talk about. It may or may not be about health care. It could be about just about anything. You know, when Sean and I get together, it just seems like the time flies by. Well, I want you to know that at 3:02 p.m. Pacific time, currently 55 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, that's the high, and it's on its way down to 44 degrees. And so it looks like, winter is here. We haven't had any real heat in a while, and it's been raining quite a bit. Look outside the window of the studio. You see the mountains out there, and they're just beautiful and capped with snow. It's just a wonderful time of year. It's just really refreshing and really terrific. Well, you know what? Let's talk about the news. We got a lot of things going on, and here's the latest. The House adopts new rules package along party lines. The latest on Congress convening for a new session. At 5:45 p.m. This afternoon, Eastern Standard Time, the Republican-led House had adopted largely along party lines its rules package for the 115th Congress, with Democrats protesting a provision that includes fines for members who use electronic devices to take pictures or video from the House floor. The proposed fine of up to $2,500 would be docked from the salaries of offended lawmakers. The Democratic Representative Steny Hoyer of Maryland likens the fine to a gag order, while Rules Committee Chairman Pete Sessions says the provision helps ensure decorum as lawmakers make their voices heard. The provision comes 6 months after Democrats live-streamed a sit-in on the House floor to call attention to their demands for votes on gun control bills. The rules package also treats the disposing of federal lands as budget neutral, which some groups contend could lead to giving away federal resources. Well, then Representative Diane Black is being named the interim chairman of the House Budget Committee, taking over the key panel as Representative Tom Price looks ahead to becoming Secretary of Health and Human Services in the upcoming Trump administration. The Tennessee Republican says that she'll also seek the post for the full 2 years of the new congressional term, assuming Price, a Georgia Republican, is confirmed by the Senate. The move by House Speaker Paul Ryan to name Black as the budget post now is a signal that she's a strong favorite for a full term. Well, Black says the first task is repealing Obamacare through a budget process that avoids a Senate filibuster. She says next year's budget promises to be a heavy lift because of competing demands and large budget deficits. And then former Vice President Dick Cheney was on Capitol Hill today, but he didn't want to talk politics. He was there to see his daughter, Liz Cheney, be sworn in as Wyoming's lone representative. It's the same seat that he held actually for 10 years before he left Congress in 1989 to become Defense Secretary for President George H.W. Bush. It's a tremendous pleasure to be here for a day like that, he said after the swearing in. I did the same thing 38 years ago when she was 12 years old. Well, you know what? I'm not crazy about Cheney, but I certainly understand why he would feel the way he does. Well, you know what? Retreating after the Trump tweet, the GOP won't gut the ethics office. The new GOP era in Washington got off to a messy start today as House Republicans, under pressure from President-elect Donald Trump, abruptly dropped plans to gut an independent congressional ethics board. The dizzying about face came as lawmakers convened for the first day of the 115th Congress, an occasion normally reserved for pomp and ceremony under the Capitol dome. Instead, House Republicans found themselves under attack, not only from Democrats, but from their new president over their selective or secretive move yesterday to neuter the independent office of congressional ethics and place it under lawmakers' control. GOP leaders scrambled to contain the damage, and within hours of Trump registering his criticism on Twitter, they called an emergency meeting where House Republicans voted without opposition to undo the change. The episode, coming even before the new Congress was convened and lawmakers were sworn in, was a powerful illustration of the sway Trump may hold over his party in a Washington that will be fully under Republican control for the first time in a decade. GOP lawmakers who felt unfairly targeted by the ethics office had defied their own leaders with their initial vote to neuter the body. But once Trump weighed in, they backpedaled immediately. Well, you know what? That's the way it ought to be. We could talk more about it, with all that Congress has to work on. Do they really have to make the weakening of the independent ethics watchdog, and unfair as it is may or may be, their number one act in priority? Trump had asked over Twitter, he did that today, or actually this morning, in an objection that appeared focused more on timing than on substance. Trump, who will take office in a little over 2 weeks, said the focus should be on tax reform and health care, and he included the hashtag DTS for Drain the Swamp, his oft-repeated campaign promise to bring change to Washington. Well, Democrats and even many Republicans were quick to point out that the lawmakers' plans for their ethics watchdog flew in the face of that nation, the measure that was part of the GOP written rules package that looked like it could fail after Trump registered his objections amid a public outcry from good government activists. The stripped-down package was approved late this afternoon by the House, 234 to 193. Sounds like it went right down party lines, doesn't it? Sure, of course it does. You know what? Let's talk about Trump's slim North Korea options: diplomacy, sanctions, and force. Donald Trump says that he's confident North Korea won't develop a nuclear-tipped missile that could strike the United States, but his options for stopping the reclusive communist country are really slim. Diplomacy that would reward Pyongyang sanctions, which haven't worked, and military action that no one really wants. For more than 2 decades, Republicans and Democratic administrations have tried carrots and sticks to steer North Korea away from nuclear weapons. Each has failed, and as Trump prepares to take office on January the 20th, the stakes are rising. Pyongyang may already be able to arm short-range and mid-range missiles with atomic warheads, threatening U.S. allies, South Korea, and Japan, and American forces in each country. On Sunday, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said preparations for launching an intercontinental ballistic missile reached the final stage. Trump tweeted the following day, "It won't happen." Yeah, well, you know what? We got to bring this thing to a close. It's not an easy one to do, and that's just the case, just the way it's going to be. Well, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about an Associated Press exclusive. The golf club shows pitfalls of the Trump presidency. We'll tell you all about that right after these brief messages. So please don't go away. We'll be right back. We got a great show for you.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Leinberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And we're talking news. You know what? Here's an exclusive for you. Golf Club shows pitfalls of a Trump presidency. United Arab Emirates is where this is coming from. The decorative clock bearing the name of America's incoming 45th president has yet to start at the Trump International Golf Club in Dubai. But the developers behind the project already are counting the money that they've made. The 18-hole course is likely to be the very first Trump-connected property to open after his January 20th inauguration as president, joining his organization's project stretching from Bali to Panama. It also encapsulates the host of worries of possible conflicts of interest circulating around a president who is very different from America's past leaders. While the Oval Office has always been home to the wealthy, Donald Trump represents the first franchise president. Could foreign governments pressure or please Trump through his international businesses? Should projects bearing his name receive additional security? And how close should his ties remain to business executives operating in areas with far different opinions about human rights and justice? There's never been anything remotely like this, not even close, said Robert W. Gordon, a legal historian and ethics expert who teaches at Stanford University. Trump himself tends to treat his business and his public policy as sort of extensions of himself. He seems to be completely unembarrassed about scrambling up and conflating his business enterprise and the actions and policies of the United States government. You know, the Trump International Golf Club in Dubai, the sheikdom in the United Arab Emirates, home to a futuristic skyline crowned by the world's tallest building, is due to open in February and be managed by Trump Organization employees. The course sits along a road that begins near the sail-shaped Burj Al Arab luxury hotel and passes by a mall with its own artificial ski slope. The luxury continues onto the Par 71 Trump course, designed by American golf architect Gil Haynes, where wrinkled fairways fairways lead to putting greens, made smooth with silica sand brushed in between microblades of grass. You know what? It's set inside Akoya, a massive housing development of 2,600 villas and 7,000 apartments developed by Dubai-based luxury real estate Damak Properties. Another Trump-managed golf course is planned for another even larger Damak project under development further down the road. Billionaire Hussein Sajwani, who founded Damak Properties in 2002, met Trump some 10 years ago, and the two men hit it off over their real estate experiences, said Neil McLaughlin, a senior vice president for communications and marketing at the firm. You know what? There's a lot going to go on, a lot of controversy because of the Trump stuff. But you know what? Should the man actually be required to give up everything he has? There's not a legal requirement for it. So, give it some thought. I don't think so. If you think about it, I just think he needs to be above board and be transparent. Well, video shows a man believed to be a nightclub attacker in Turkey. An eerie video emerged today of a man believed to be the attacker who killed 39 people in a mass shooting at a nightclub, showing him taking a selfie as he silently toured Istanbul's most famous square. The camera never leaves the man's unsmiling face as he walked through the Taksim Square during the 44-second clip that was broadcast on state-run Anadolu television and other Turkish media. It wasn't immediately clear if the video was made before or after the New Year's massacre at the Reina nightclub or how it was obtained. The gunman, who hasn't been publicly identified, is still at large. On Monday, the Islamic State group claimed responsibility for the attack, which also wounded nearly 70 people. The extremists said a soldier of the Caliphate had carried out the mass shooting to avenge Turkish military operations against ISIS in northern Syria. Well, funerals began today in Jordan, Lebanon, Israel, and Turkey for the dead, most of them tourists. Mourners wept for the lives that were cut short in the early hours of 2017 at the popular and glamorous club. I don't even know what to call it. It's certainly not anything that any of us should be happy about, and that's absolutely for sure. Well, I can tell you this. We'll leave with this, as a matter of fact. Quick decisions meant life or death in southeastern storms. As an apparent tornado bore down on them, 7 people in a mobile home in southwest Alabama made a life or death decision. 3 ran into one bedroom for shelter, and 4 ran into the opposite direction to another room seeking safety. The 3, including Lawana Henrich, survived without a scratch, according to Coroner Robert Byrd, but a big hardwood tree that slammed into the mobile home killed the 4 others, including Henrich's daughter and sister, Byrd said. The tree toppled over during a wave of severe weather that brought heavy rain and strong winds to the southeast, and it couldn't have hit in a worse spot when it fell Monday night near, I think it's Rehoboth, Alabama. It was dead center, Byrd said. You think, what's the chance of 4 people being so close in one area? But they were. Those 4 and a 5th man who drowned in the Florida Panhandle died as a line of severe thunderstorms moved across the southeastern United States from Texas. How sad is it? I don't care if you believe in global warming or you don't believe in global warming. There's something weird going on with the weather. There's just no question about it. Absolutely weird going on with the weather. And you just can't deny it. Now, whether it's man-made or man-aggravated or it's just nature or a world deteriorating, I don't know. But I do know this. It's not business as usual, and that's for sure. Well, we're going to take another short break. When we come back, we're going to get on something a little more pleasant. We're going to talk about the IRS loses. And in this case, the IRS must repay funds after the refund deadline. And I'm going to tell you about that right after these few words.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:23 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 54 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 44 degrees. Definitely winter is here, that's for sure. If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network in New York City, well, it's 44 degrees and it's overcast. And if you're in Chicago, Illinois, it's 38 degrees. And it's overcast. Well, you know what? I promise you some good news. Let's get right to it. We're going to talk about the IRS loses. And this first case is the IRS must pay or repay funds after a refund deadline. So here's the deal. An estate held property that was involved in litigation and hard to value. Now, before filing its return or receiving any tax bill, it remitted $165,000 to the IRS to stop penalties and interest from running on any tax that it may owe. Now, later, it filed a late return showing no tax due, but the IRS said that the deadline for refunding its $165,000 tax payment had passed. The estate said that the $165,000 had not been a tax payment, but a deposit not subject to the deadline. So they went to court for some satisfaction. This is what the judge said. No tax had been calculated at the time of the remittance, and the IRS's own rules say that an undesignated remittance made before a tax liability is proposed is a deposit. The estate gets its money back, and it gets interest on that money. Absolutely. Well, here's another case for you. The IRS loses. A wife in a community property state, well, she gets credit for all of her withholding. Well, don't you think she should anyway? Well, this is a little strange, but wait till you hear the story. A couple separated after the 8th month of the year and filed separate returns. Now, the husband had income during the 8 months, but paid no tax. Now, under community property rules, the IRS said that half this income was taxable to the wife. Now, she was employed and had $38,354 of tax withheld from her pay, but the IRS credited the husband with $12,785 of it, half of the withholding during the 8 months. Now, she protested, went to tax court. This is what the judge said. The wife was properly taxed on half of her husband's income, but it was inequitable to deny her credit for tax that she had paid and credit it to the husband who had paid none. So she gets the credit for all of her tax payments. That's the way it absolutely should be. You know, the IRS just keeps trying to get it in anybody's pocket, but theirs, right? We get another case. The IRS loses. Improper deductions. Well, it doesn't really prove fraud. Here's the case. Carlos Sala invested a large amount in what the IRS said was an illegal tax shelter. It sent a tax bill that he paid, but he then sought a refund of $1.5 million of interest that the IRS could collect only in fraud cases. Now, can you imagine that? That's just the interest, though, $1.5 million. Now, here's the thing. The IRS says that the shelter was fraudulent because the deductions that it gave were much larger than any account or any amount that Sala ever risked losing on his investment in that thing. Well, he went to court. This is what the judge said. Sala's small risk of loss might make his deductions improper, but fraud requires acts of deceit and concealment from the IRS, and Sala had acted openly and even obtained a lawyer's opinion about the shelter's propriety before investing in it. There was no proof of any fraud. So, yeah, you got it. The refund was allowed, and that's the way it ought to be. Absolutely the way it ought to be. Well, you heard me talk about being a fly on the wall when the IRS is doing things. Well, that's where we're at right now with this segment that we call Inside the IRS, very much like the Twilight Zone. Okay, now, unlike our other segment, the Inside the IRS is really not about tax court cases, but it'll tell you about precedents and things that the IRS is doing that you might find not only interesting, but you might even find helpful if you have situations that are similar to that. And this first one is expenses of attending a convention or seminar outside of North America, and what that actually constitutes. Now, they're generally disallowed according to Section 274H of the tax code, but the definition of North America has recently been changed in a revenue ruling. The U.S., its possessions and trust territories of the Pacific Islands, and Canada and Mexico are all acceptable destinations. Now, the Bahamas, let's see, get that taken care of. There we go. Now, the Bahamas, Aruba, and the Netherlands, Antilles, have added to the list just recently, and St. Lucia was dropped as of April the 4th because its government failed to enact legislation to exchange financial information with the United States. But you need to take note here, the Cayman Islands and the British Virgin Islands are not included on the list of acceptable destinations because those governments have limited the scope of financial information that may be exchanged with the United States government. So that gives you that's what's going on. Listen, you ever wonder about how do you lose a computer? I mean, it seems pretty difficult to me. I mean, it's something you put your hands on, you hold on to. The only way you lose it is if somebody is to steal it from you, right? Well, listen to this. The Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration has disclosed that the IRS has failed to report to its office the loss of more than 75% of the IRS computers that went missing between January and June of last year. According to the IRS, more than 40, you're not going to believe this, more than 47,000 laptop computers are assigned to employees. Many of the computers reported missing were lost because employees kept them in unlocked vehicles, left them on buses and trains, or checked them in airline baggage, for God's sakes. Never to see them again. We all been there, right? Well, how these standards have really dropped. In the old days before computers, when I was dealing in private practice with the IRS all the time, the rule was always that if you lost a taxpayer's file, it'd be grounds for dismissal. Everyone knew that you should never leave a file, even in your locked car, because the car was stolen, the file would disappear too. Now, the important part about this is they get that computer. It's got every single taxpayer's name, address, social security number, where they work, their insurance information, their kids' information. It's got everything, where they bank. Boy, you think that that's not dangerous? Yet, what kind of a standard does the IRS hold you to? I think a much more stringent one. Now listen, don't go away, because we've got something really, really exciting going on. I haven't been this excited in, well, at least 2 weeks. We're going to come back to our own Sean LaFave and his Geared for Wellness Corner. We may or may not be talking about anything to do with healthcare, but we'll be talking, and you're not going to want to miss it, because this next hour is going to fly by like in the blink of an eye.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Leinberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from his personal meditation lounge in Orange County, California, a professional dedicated to conquering many chronic conditions from autism to weight loss and everything in between. The nationally recognized wellness coach, consultant, and lecturer, Sean Lefebvre, in his Geared for Wellness Corner.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the Street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:35 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 54 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 44 degrees, but we can do better than that. If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Cleveland, Ohio, it's 37 degrees. And foggy, so stay the hell out of there for Pete's sake. But you know what? We can do better than that, too. If you're in Wichita, Kansas with our own Sean Lefebvre, it's 28 degrees and it's mostly cloudy, and you're going to be dying to come to, well, it's sunny, but it's liquid sunny, Southern California. Sean, I don't know where you've been, but I've been missing you for 2 weeks. I don't know, what did you get? What did you drink? What did you eat? And are you carrying a bag of mistletoe in your back pocket?
No mistletoe. No mistletoe. Besides, what if I was in my back pocket? Then I would be holding it. People would be going around kissing my butt all the time.
Well, that was the idea. I wanted to know if you caught on to that. It's sort of like, walking through town and telling everybody, kiss my ass.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that might not be a bad idea now that I think about it. It'd be really awkward when I had to go to the bathroom. Like, oh, please, come on.
Well, then you could have shoved it. Oh, never mind. I'm not going to go there. I was going to say something else, but I'm not going to do it. So how was the holiday for you, my friend?
It was nice. I got to do some relaxing and kind of got out of town a little bit and did a little bit of work and a little bit of everything and had a nice Christmas and had a nice New Year's Eve with some friends and
how nice.
New Year's Day and just New Year's Day I went for. I used to be an avid cyclist. I used to love riding my bike. I still do. It's not that I don't still enjoy it. It's just that I don't actively cycle like I used to. And when I lived here in Wichita, I am in Wichita, by the way. And when I lived here, there's a place where I would always go to get anything that I needed for a bicycle, whether I bought an entire bicycle or one little part or whatever. And it's called the Bicycle Peddler, kind of a fun little play on words there. And every year on January 1st, they did a bicycle ride, regardless of the temperature, whether we just rode around the block or we went and did 20 miles or what the case might be. And in fact, one year it was so cold that they have a creek that runs behind where their business is, and we actually, half the people went and rode, did street ride, and then about half of us went and we rode on the frozen creek. It was that cold that the creek was frozen solid enough that we could ride on it. Wow. And so every year they do a bike ride. So this year I thought, I brought my bike out here with me, and I thought, I should go ahead and do it. And so I went and I did 20 miles on the first, and afterwards they always go out to Olive Garden and have lunch together. And it was a great gathering. There was probably about, I think, 70 some odd people that actually went for the bike ride, and about 50 or so that actually stayed for lunch afterwards. And it was just a fun time.
Well, let me ask you a couple questions about that. Did you have a white Christmas?
I did not. Here in Kansas, it was, I want to say, like 60 degrees or something like that.
Oh, you're kidding. Really? Am I under a misguided impression that Kansas is supposed to be extremely cold? I mean, even right now it's pretty cold. But
yeah, it's funny because the weekend before Christmas, it was 10 degrees below zero here, and we did get snow. But then on Christmas Day, it was 60 degrees, and I think we had some rain or something, but obviously clearly no snow at that temperature. So Kansas is kind of in December, it's real hit or miss. I consider December to be a pretty mild time of year. Matter of fact, that 10 degree below zero temperature that we had was record-breaking temperatures that I think it was the coldest temperature they've had since 1890 or something along those lines. It's been over 100 years since they had temperatures that cold in December. But typically December, sometimes you'll get snow, sometimes you won't. It usually doesn't get real cold. The temperature's pretty moderate. January and February tend to be a little bit more extreme. You'll get a lot more snow. You'll get the the colder temperatures that tend to get dipped down, maybe even below zero.
Well, Sean, you said that you rode your bike about 20 miles, and you also rode it on this iced over creek. Do you put special tires on your bike for riding in Wichita this time of year?
No. When I did the creek one, that was years ago that I did that one. I actually have made you can buy them, but I've made my own set of studded snow tires. You can get them for cars, you can get them for bikes. I one time made my own set, and at that time I had a mountain bike, so I just put it already had the knobby tires on it, so I just used the knobby tires to ride. And there was enough snow on the ice that I had pretty decent traction. Actually, at one point I actually broke through the ice, just my front tire. My front tire did. I hit a spot that for whatever reason wasn't frozen enough, and my front tire went down into the water, and I was stuck. Unfortunately, there was a tree right next to me with a low-lying branch, and I was able to reach out and grab this branch and hold on, and I was stuck there. I couldn't. I was afraid to step off the bike because I didn't want to step on the ice and break through and get my leg all wet.
Well, let me ask you, a creek,
I sat there and hollered for my buddy. Huh?
Is a creek, is it a shallow body of water, or is it deep, a creek?
No. It's shallow. I mean, like my tire went in, and my tire was probably 2/3 of the way in. So you're talking maybe 2 feet of water or something like that. It's not very deep. Maybe 1.5 feet of water. If I stepped in it, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It's not like I'm going to drown and get frost. Get hypothermia or something. Yeah. But I didn't want to ride my bike back with wet feet.
Is it wide? Is it wide?
No. It's probably 6 feet wide.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay.
It's literally like going down a path that just happens to be a frozen creek.
So is it a creek? Is it a creek that when the water is not frozen, you can fish in the creek?
I would imagine, yeah. In this creek, I think actually people can fish in this one. They're going to be small fish, but you can fish in it. Yeah.
Now, is that something, I have a buddy that has a cabin up in the mountains here, up in the San Bernardino Mountains, and the fish and wildlife go up there, and they actually seed the streams up there. Do they do that where you're at too, or is it just all natural?
I don't think they do it here. They might. There's a couple of I use the term loosely lakes because we really don't have in the state of Kansas any naturally occurring large bodies of water. There's ponds and such, but there's no actual lakes that are naturally occurring. So anything that we call a lake here in Kansas is typically built by it's a reservoir is what it really is. It's built by a dam.
So Kansas, Kansas is
and those I would guess they stock them.
Now Kansas is fairly flat, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't have, when you get the snowfall and the icing up and stuff like that, when that melts, do you just lose all that water, or is it trapped in reservoirs someplace? And what happens to the water?
We don't get enough snow that it's really that big of a deal, but it's going to drain off, and it's either going to soak into the ground, it's going to flow into a creek or a river, or maybe into one of the aquifers, one of the reservoirs, the aquifers, or whatever that we have here. Yeah. But we don't have. It's not like when you go to the mountains and they get several feet of snow, and then when it melts off, it creates these huge raging rivers. We don't get anything like that here. It's just we don't get enough snowfall for it to accumulate like that.
Ah. So listen, my friend, what is it you would like to talk about today?
Well, gosh, we're gonna end up all over the map.
Oh, yes, we are.
Sure.
It's been. I mean, give me a break, right? It's been 2 weeks since we talked. So
I know. I feel like I'm going to start getting the DTs if we were going to go any longer.
Yeah, there's any number of things that you and I could wind up talking about here today.
Well, you sent me some great articles, and I definitely want to touch on those as much as we can. But
okay.
I'm going to start off with one that I found just before we started the show, or just before I got on, and I thought this was really interesting. It's an article out of Forbes magazine, and the headline says "It's final. Corn ethanol is of no use," and I thought that was interesting. So that caught my attention, and I read it. And basically, what they're saying is, looking at what the United Nations are saying and other organizations, is they're saying that best case scenario when it comes to using ethanol, we take corn and we reduce it down and we make ethanol fuel out of it to burn in our cars. And the theory is that it burns cleaner, it's a renewable resource, and on, right? Mm-hmm. And basically what the article is saying is that at best, because we have to use fuel to harvest it, we've got to use pesticides and all these things to create it, and on and on. It's got to be, farmed with farm equipment, and it's got to be processed in a plant that uses energy. At best case scenario, it's a wash, and maybe we're breaking even, but realistically, we're actually probably doing more damage to the environment by using ethanol. And for sure, what we're doing is we're using up land space that could be utilized for making food for people all over the world. And I thought it was just a really interesting article, because the United Nations years ago came out with this, just a glowing report about the benefits of using ethanol from corn. And of course, that was met with a lot of backlash. There's a lot of people who, just like anything else, don't believe everything that they read, and the science they say doesn't support it. And so there was a lot of negative feedback for that. And now the UN is actually coming out and saying, you know what, really, there's not a lot of benefit to using corn as a source of energy, because the amount of energy that's required to grow and harvest it and process it as well. I just thought that was a really interesting report, because people think, when they go to the pumps, they see, I get the option to use ethanol. It comes from corn, which we just kind of just assume naturally it's a little bit better cleaning or cleaner burning. It's a better fuel source, and it's renewable, and it kind of makes us feel good. But in the big picture of things, what they're saying is, it's really not doing any good, and is most likely probably doing more damage to our environment. And certainly, when you look at its impact on the land space that would be available for growing crops, so we could have more and cheaper crops, it's ethically is creating more problems as well. And I just thought it was a really interesting article.
Yeah, you know what? I find it interesting, Sean, that excuse me. All of these things that we assumed as facts over the years are now getting turned around, and all these things that we've assumed and we've believed all this time are being reversed. And it just makes you wonder about science in general, or technology in general. How much of the wool that they're pulling over our eyes are they going to disclose to us as a fallacy in the coming years?
Yeah, and you can go back and look, even in the last 100 years, let alone the last 1,000 years. You can look back to even to the 1950s. When smoking was considered something that was healthy for you. That's in fact, I was having this discussion with one of the guys that I was on the bike ride with, and we were talking about I think we were talking about drinking, because I had given him a bottle of wine for Christmas, mm-hmm. and we were talking about how I have this bicycle jersey that on the picture of it shows the Tour de France, and they're passing a bottle of wine back and forth between the riders, something to drink during the ride kind of thing, or just before the ride. And we were talking about another jersey that I have that he and I both have seen, of course, and I actually bought it from him probably 15 years ago. And on this jersey, it shows the Tour de France racers smoking cigarettes. And their theory was smoking a cigarette before a race deprived your lungs of oxygen, so it made your body work harder to try to get the oxygen that was available to it. So if you didn't smoke during the race, you would utilize oxygen at a more efficient rate. And even medical doctors back in the 50s used to believe that smoking was good for digestion, and on and on. There was a lot of health benefits to it. And so, we've had junk science for as long as you can remember. You think about snake oil salesmen and all these things, that go back to, you can even read stories even in the, from 2,000 years ago about, people who were supposedly healers that just weren't doing their job. And
Sean, it's interesting. You were talking about that they used to preach that smoking was probably good for digestion, and I think that probably came from the fact that when people wised up and they quit smoking, they gained 20 or 30 pounds, and people would attribute it to the smoking. Well, the truth is that when you smoked, you kind of lost your appetite, and food didn't taste so good. When you quit smoking, it not only smelled better, it tasted better for some reason. You ate more of it. It had nothing to do with digestion. It had to do with the counter effects of smoke.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The food tasted better. You could smell better. one of the biggest complaints you hear from people who quit smoking is they go, I don't know what to do with my hands now.
Yeah.
Well, eating is a great substitute for that. I had an uncle that when he quit smoking, he started chewing toothpicks, and he'd go through, a box of toothpicks has 500 toothpicks. He'd go through one of those in like, 3 or 4 days. He would just chew toothpicks, like 50, 60, 70 toothpicks a day.
You're talking about something that's tough on digestion. That's got to be it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we I think that we're going to see a lot of things, everything from, GMOs to, and I believe this still, I've been saying this for quite a while now, is, the climate change thing. I think a lot of these things are going to be debunked in time, and a lot of the things that we thought were good for us, we're going to find out are not so good for us. And the things that we thought, like butter, butter used to be this evil thing.
Hey man, you're never going to get me to admit that butter is an evil thing. Everything's better with butter, buddy. Everything
is better with butter. And absolutely. And we know now, even science agrees, and you can read about it, and, mainstream media like Time Magazine has done articles and so on, that, butter has gotten a bad rap, and in fact, it's actually good for you. So butter is one of those things that's been vindicated. But yeah,
Well, one of the things that I've learned, ever since you've been doing the show, which is some time now, you have opened my eyes to so many things that we thought were bad that truly are good for you. It's just sometimes you get it in the wrong form, or you get and it just boggles my mind some of the things that you've opened my eyes to.
Yeah, well, and I love hearing that. That's awesome. I like them when someone says that to me. And like you said, it's things that we thought were bad for us, but maybe in the wrong form. Like beef, like steak, for instance. Well, it's not that the steak is bad for you. It's what we did to the cow before we took the steak from it that causes the problems. And in fact, oh my gosh, I went to speaking of steak, I went to yesterday. There's a place. This is incredible that a place like this still exists in the state, and I think it's wonderful. There's a place out near Hutchinson, Kansas. It's called Jako Farms, Jako. Not that I have a lot of listeners here in the Kansas area that are going to go run out there right away, but Jako Farms is this neat little farm out in I guess what are we, South Central Kansas, and they of course they raise their own cattle. The cattle are all grass fed, mm-hmm. and they have lamb and they have chickens and the grass fed lamb. The chickens are free range and so on.
I'm liking this place already.
Oh yeah, you would love this place. So of course they slaughter the lambs and the chicken and the beef, and they have it all processed into steaks or into ground beef or lamb chops, or you can get whole fryer chickens, you can get chicken pieces, you can get the carcass, you can get the eggs. They sell raw milk. So you can buy like a half gallon or a gallon of raw milk. I mean, it is, oh my gosh, it is the best tasting milk. There's something so wonderful about drinking milk that has not just literally came out of the cow and boom, it's put in a bottle. Yeah. And it's not homogenized, it's not pasteurized, none of that stuff. And it's so sweet and so delicious, amazing. And, of course you can get all these different any kind of steak that you can think of they have for sale, but it's grass-fed beef. And the same thing with the lamb and then the chicken. And they have...
so this must be a huge place.
It's funny because I thought it was going to be, when I first heard about it, I thought it was going to be bigger too. And it's a good-sized little store that they have there, because they've got...
I'm sorry, this is not a ranch, this is a store?
Oh, okay, they have a ranch. Okay, but then they process all the meat, that you can get. They have it, made into, like if they have it made into sausage, they have bacon there that's not even cured. It's basically just the pork belly sliced up.
So it's a butcher shop.
Yeah. So they have a butcher shop that processes the stuff for them. So nothing ever gets any of the, like if it's any type of pork product, any type of sausage or anything like that, there's no nitrates, no nitrites, no MSGs, none of that stuff. And in fact, the bacon is strictly just this pork belly sliced up in a just like it would bacon, but without curing it at all. No type of curing. And so they make their own yogurt from raw milk. They make their own cream cheese, and they've got a bunch of different products, right? But here's the really cool part. So they've got these freezers full of all this meat and refrigerators full of cheese that's made from raw milk and cream cheese and yogurt and milk, and the eggs are in there and all these different things. The store, quote unquote, I call it a store. It's basically just a huge room full of frozen meat and refrigerated products, dairy products. You walk in, it's open 24 hours a day. There's nobody attending the store. You go in, you pick out the stuff you want. There's a sheet on a table in the middle of the room. You just make a list of everything you got, how much the prices are already on everything. You write it all down, you add it all up, you do the taxes, you add the tax on, and then you total it up and you put it on your slip. And if whatever it comes out to, you either put a check or you put cash in a bowl. There's sitting in the middle of the table, there's a bowl filled with cash. When I went in there was hundreds of dollars of cash.
Let me tell you, don't try that in Southern California.
Oh my gosh, exactly.
Don't try that anyplace else, as a matter of fact.
Right. They've been doing this for years. For years they've been doing this, and they've been doing it successfully. But, you got to drive out in the country. They're out in the middle of nowhere. They're kind of in Amish territory out there. Now, granted, that's not to say that someone can go out there and go in and grab a couple steaks and a handful of cash and walk out. And I would imagine this probably happened to them, but not enough to where they closed down. But I just thought, what a wonderful thing to experience, all these different meats that are just healthy for you, all these cheeses and raw milk and all this different stuff that's good for your body in a place where the honor system still works.
Wow.
How fantastic. It was just a neat experience. I went there for the first time yesterday and bought about $120 worth of stuff. The guy showed us around. He says, "Okay, well, you guys take care." And he just left. And there we are. All right. So we walked around and started grabbing stuff out of the refrigerator and the freezer. And oh, man, I tell you, it's just unbelievable, that something like that exists.
What a test to the integrity of mankind.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I just think it was just a wonderful experience. So yeah, talking about, like that kind of goes back to what we were talking about is the whole, it's what we do to our food. It's the energy that we put into it. It's the chemicals we put into it. It's all the things that we do to our food that causes the problems in our body, not the foods themselves. You can eat all the steak you want. It's not going to be bad for you. All these chickens that these guys raise, there's no antibiotics, there's no hormones. They run around free. They eat a healthy diet. They eat what chickens are supposed to eat, grains on the ground and bugs and whatever else chickens eat. It's what a wonderful, fantastic.
That's what they refer to as free range?
Yeah, free range.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Hey, listen,
anyway,
we got 30 seconds. Why don't you lead us into what we're going to talk about when we come back?
What a great segue. You sent me an article, and I want to touch on this, and I've got a couple of things to follow up with this, too, that really kind of drive this home. You sent me an article that says the Trump presidency puts California legislators in defense mode. And basically what it's talking about is in California, because it's a very left liberal state, that they're all scrambling right now to try to save their programs as much as they can because they believe that Trump is going to destroy everything they've worked for. And it's a really interesting article, and so we're gonna talk about that. But that's going to piggyback onto a couple of other things that I want to talk about as well. What's going on in California?
Sounds good to me. We're talking to our own Sean LaFave. You know what? I was going to say the Geared for Wellness corner, but well, you know what it is. All information is good for wellness. So we'll be right back with our own Sean LaFave after these brief messages. Do not go away. We've got a lot of fantastic show for you.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the Street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:01 p.m. Pacific time. Hey, it's 54 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. I think that's where it was the last time I talked about it too. But if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Paris, France, you lucky son of a gun, it is 32 degrees and mostly cloudy. And if you're in Rome, Italy, it is 39 degrees and it's clear, so it's getting a little warmer. But you know what? If you're still out there in Wichita, Kansas, my good buddy Sean, it's 55 degrees and mostly cloudy. So, hey, no, it's not 28 degrees and mostly cloudy. I don't know where the 55 came from. Sean must have thought he was in a heat tub somewhere.
When you said 55, I thought, wow, did it warm up? Because it doesn't feel like it was 55 when I was outside just an hour ago. All right.
Yeah. Hey, listen, did you happen to get a chance? I sent you an air check on something that I had seen on YouTube today, and it was something that I made a copy of it and I sent it off to you. And it was about Red Skelton. Do you know who Red Skelton is?
Oh, yeah, the comedian, Red Skelton. Yeah, absolutely. You sent me and I had seen this before. Red Skelton is funny. You know, I know he was even before my time, but I still got to see reruns of him growing up, and I always loved Red Skelton, and I think he's just absolutely funny. He's such a great character.
Yeah. Well, he did this bit on explaining every word of the Pledge of Allegiance, and I want to tell you, it was just phenomenal. For those people listening, I'm actually going to play that thing tomorrow on the show.
Good.
But it is absolutely phenomenal. You know, Red, just a quick story I want to tell you about. When I was a little guy, my grandfather was still alive on my dad's side, and he lived with us. And I remember on Sunday evenings after dinner, we'd all go into the living room, turn the television on, and put the Red Skelton Hour on. And what the funny part about it was my grandfather would sit there in an easy chair watching the television show Red Skelton. And we would be sitting in chairs, not looking at the television, but looking at my grandfather, because he would be laughing so hard, tears would be coming down his eyes because of how funny Red Skelton was, and never a curse word from this man's mouth. Unbelievable. And that's one of the greatest memories I have, Sean, of my grandfather, my late grandfather.
Some of the funniest things that Red Skelton did, he didn't speak any words at all. He would act out things as if he was talking.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't, and it was just, you know, these little skits that he would do as if there was someone there with him, and as if he was carrying a conversation, but not a word was spoken. And it was just his facial expressions, the body movements. He was a master at creating a scene that didn't even exist and just pulling you right into it and just having you just in tears. He was so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He was just a phenomenal guy. Anyway, you were going to talk about the California legislature is running for the hills.
Yeah. So and it's funny. I love California, and I do. It's still home to me, and
in spite of Governor Moonbeam.
What's that?
In spite of Governor Moonbeam.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And but there's a big part of me that says, I don't know that I could continue living there much longer because of all of the rules and regulations. As a matter of fact, I was doing some research. I was looking at different states. The type of business that I want to own, I am not legally allowed to own in the state of California. I can't even own it here in Kansas. But there are certain states that I can, certain states that I can't.
Wait a minute. Let me just guess. Can you have it in Nevada?
Yes, Nevada. Yeah, it's not that kind of business, but I can have it in Nevada. And actually, we're gonna actually touch on that type of business in just a little bit. But that's not the kind of business I want to own. I'm a little too old for that. My market share has dropped drastically.
I wasn't talking about a casino. You know that, right?
Yeah, casino. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, casinos. I knew exactly what you were talking about. But no, actually, Nevada is one. Arizona is another one. I was looking up, just like, basically, there's organizations that will rank the different states in the country according to like a freedom index. Which states are most free, which ones are have the least amount of freedoms, and of course they rank it according to accessibility, freedom of healthcare choices, gun control laws, personal liberties, things, religious freedoms, all these different things that we have, and sometimes may or may not take for advantage or take for granted at times. But the number one state consistently seems to be the state of Arizona is the number one most free state in the country, and California is one of the last. In fact, one specific organization and one of the more prominent organizations ranks them as the 49th freest, if you want to call it. They're basically only one state worse, and I don't remember if it was
Massachusetts. There's got to be that makes two worse.
Yeah. So what's that?
That makes two worse.
Two worse?
Oh no. Ranks 49th. You said.
It's 49th. It's 49th. Yeah, I'm like, did we add a state when I wasn't? No. Over the Christmas break, I'm like, what did Obama do? Did he add Guam or the Philippines? Kenya?
You have to excuse me. I'm a math major. Anyway,
Obama's good at passing all these executive orders, but he added a whole state, and I didn't even know about it. So
it's the state of frustration and confusion.
Exactly. So there's basically, California is about as least free of all the states that you could possibly get. There's just we have more freedoms taken away in California than pretty much anywhere else in the whole country. And so, that part of it bothers me, everything from all these different laws that have been passed from vaccinations to, personal liberties to gun laws. We've seen restrictions. And of course, Chicago has proven this past year that gun laws absolutely don't work. I mean, they're the worst in the country when it comes to homicides by gun, and they have the strictest laws. And so, there's all these liberties that have been taken away from us, and really, the benefit of those don't seem to be panning out. But right now, you've got these lawmakers, and of course, for those who don't know about California is a very left, liberal, Democrat state. Matter of fact, I believe that Hillary Clinton got 67% of the vote, or 66. She basically got about 2/3 of the vote in California. Matter of fact, she got, I think it was more than 3 million votes in the state of California alone, more than Trump did. Which, if you could take the state of California out, Trump would have won the popular vote by far against Hillary Clinton. But so it's a very left liberal state, and so right now the lawmakers are all scrambling because the rest of the country is basically very it's taking a turn. Obviously, we've got a Republican president now. We've got more. We've got the Senate, we've got the House, we've got, the control of pretty much everything. There's even more governors, Republican governors than. So right now, California is kind of scrambling, and of course, the article starts out, it says California lawmakers returned to Sacramento on Wednesday liberal dreams of expanding safety net benefits and providing health coverage to immigrants are giving way to new vision revolving around a feverish push to protect gains racked up in the past. So basically, they're just going, you know what, instead of hoping to get new things done, we're just hoping to save what they call progress. Of course, you know, a lot of us wouldn't call it progress. We would call it actually, you know, I don't know, it's regress. It's you know, a lot of us would consider a lot of the legislation that's been pushed through to be damaging. And so now they're thinking they're going to get a lot of pushback. You know, they're worried about you know, these anti-poverty groups are focused on preventing cuts to food stamps and welfare programs rather than trying to expand them. They're just hoping they don't get cut. They're worried about, you know, laws that basically impact the quote unquote rights for illegal immigrants to stay in the state, which I still, for the life of me, can't understand how they want to fight for the rights of people who are illegal. You know, if you're here legally, I think it's wonderful. You know, I think that's great. You know, it's funny because California, you know, they in fact, one of the things that they did was they raised the minimum wage to $15. I don't know if it's the whole state, but a lot of parts in Los Angeles specifically, what they discovered was, you know, everyone, all right, cool, we've got $15 an hour wages now, and all of a sudden we started seeing in places like McDonald's these kiosks pop up. So now you're not talking to a person, you're talking to a machine to order your food, because machines are cheaper than people when they cost $15 an hour.
And there's no overtime.
Another problem that the employers had in Los Angeles, because Los Angeles was the first major city to do that in California, what they found was, you know, the employees at first were like, all right, I'm making $15 an hour, I'm getting what I deserve. And, the underlying kind of premise here is that if you pay people more, they can support themselves, they can live. They can't live off $10 an hour, but they can live off $15 an hour. And that was kind of the premise of it, and that's why we pushed for the $15 an hour wage. Well, what a lot of employers were finding was eventually their employees come in, they see their nice new shiny paycheck that's you know, got 50% more money in it, and they're going to their employers and saying, hey, I need to cut back on my hours because I'm making too much money now, and if I continue this, I won't be able to draw my benefits check. I won't get my welfare anymore, you know? And so what we found was that really this isn't solving any problems, it's just creating more problems, and people are adjusting in different ways because they're really not there. And there are people who deserve welfare. There are people who want to support themselves, and I think there are people who are taking advantage of the $15 an hour salary and actually trying to make something of themselves. And so there's people on both ends of the spectrum. But it's funny, you know, when you take all these things, you know, the welfare that they're trying to fight to save, the minimum wages they're trying to fight to save, the immigration that they want to keep all the illegal immigrants and stuff. You know, I think back to, you know, a time in this country when immigrants came here because they wanted to make something of themselves, and they didn't have the option of being. In fact, we didn't even have welfare until 1935 when Franklin Delano Roosevelt implemented it. You know, there was no welfare 100 years ago. And then we had a ton of immigrants. And it wasn't a problem because they came here and they either functioned as a part of society or they didn't eat. You know, they lived in poverty. There was no welfare to take care of them. You know, if their family and friends or church or whatever didn't step up, you know, they didn't have the option to be lazy.
Well, you know what? Unless you are an offspring of an American Indian, we're all immigrants.
Yeah, we're all immigrants, exactly. And you know, but the difference between immigrants now and immigrants 100 years ago is the laws are so much different now.
Yeah.
And the stuff, you know, you couldn't come here and expect to get health care and expect to get welfare and all these things 100 years ago. I mean, even 50 years ago, but especially, you know, 100 years ago, there was zero. You know, there was some minor immigration laws. But there was a time in the late 1800s when we had a ban on Chinese immigration. You know, there's been all kinds of weird stuff. But
well, isn't it interesting that this country was actually more progressive and more innovative in the years that we had no income tax than it is now?
I was just going to say that. I was literally just exactly where I was just going. For the first 100 years that this country existed, we didn't have any immigration laws, and we didn't have any personal taxation laws. Mm-mm. And for some reason, we still thrived as a country. And we had
matter of fact, isn't that why we had the Boston Tea Party?
And that's exactly why we had the Boston Tea Party, was because we didn't want to pay those taxes. And now all of a sudden we've gotten to this point where, we've got an entire, half of the country that wants more taxes and more, especially for wealthy people, they it's so, I just find it interesting how I don't know anybody who sits down during tax season and goes, man, I'm so glad I get to pay these taxes.
I hate to say this to you, but for 35 years I sat down during tax season and celebrated. But that's because I was a tax expert doing taxes for other people and other businesses, and I was making money at it. Now that I'm retired, I don't celebrate tax season anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, the people who are making money off of tax season, they're loving it. Yeah. And in fact, I've got a friend who does accounting, and she actually took a month off after tax season was over and went to Alaska because she's like, I'm fried. But you know how tax season is. Oh yeah. So we've got all these legislators out in California, trying to protect all of these things, and they're all freaking out. And the thing that really just kind of strikes me is that instead of standing up and going, okay, how do we work with this new predominant Republican Party? They're going, what do we have to do to defend ourselves against them? As if it's us against them. And that's the
isn't that ridiculous?
It is ridiculous. And that's the part that we've gotten to in this country that I don't understand why it's become left against right. We used to be a country where people didn't identify who they are as a person.
Sean, I think I know what you want to say. I think what you're trying to say is, the citizens of the country used to come first because the citizens are the country. Now it's the legislators that come first. The country doesn't come first anymore.
Exactly. It used to be a country of the people, by the people, and for the people. Yes. And right now, I don't think it's for the people anymore. I think it's the legislators going, oh my gosh, what are we going to do to save our jobs? What are we going to do to not look so bad that we don't get more of us elected out of office during the next election? And I think it's really they're going into salvation mode and not going, what can we do to make lives?
Sean, that's the part that boggles my mind. And I talk about it over and over and over again. You and I've talked about it before too. And that is, I just don't understand the complacency of the average American who has the right to vote and doesn't vote, and the one that has the right to vote and continues to put the same lame duck idiots into government positions that do nothing but collect a paycheck. If you were self-employed like I was, like you are, and things like that, you know what you would do to people that don't do their job? You'd fire them. We don't fire them. I don't understand it. They do nothing and we don't fire them.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I don't get it either. We don't. You get, unfortunately, people, like you say, who have the right to vote, and they just vote party line, all Republican, all Democrat, whatever. You get a few that maybe are kind of switching around a little bit, but for the most part, people, they go, well, gosh, if I give them one more chance. No, you don't give them one more chance. We need a new person in there. We need new blood. And it's the same old grind. And I think that's, for me personally, it's one of the things that I like about Trump. He is about as new and fresh as he may not be fun. He may not be pretty and shiny like Barack Obama.
Yeah, but he never promised to be fun. What he promised was to make America great again. What he promised was change. What he promised was to empty the swamp, and that's exactly what he's doing. And people are just castigating him and criticizing him because he's not putting the good old boy network into his cabinet. He's putting very smart business people that are intelligent, that are used to getting things done and not the same old political way. And I got to guarantee you, Congress is scared to death because this administration is going to turn things around. I just feel it in my bones.
Look what he just did. I mean, he's done this since I don't even know what.
He's not even president yet.
And Ford just today came out and said, you know what, we're going to scrap our plans to go to Mexico, and we're going to open up expand our plan here in the United States and create 700 more jobs.
Yeah,
it's every time we turn around, he's not even president yet, and he's making it happen.
Now here's the thing, and then we got to take a break. But here's the thing: here is a man who is used to progress. He's used to winning. He's used to getting an edge up, and he's used to getting things done. And you know what? Here's a man that he doesn't know if he'll get a second term or not, but I'll tell you one thing he does want. He wants a legacy that will be second to none when he gets out of here. He wants to rub it in everybody's faces that, you know what? You should have listened many, many years ago. I wouldn't have had to run for president if the people would have gotten smarter way back when.
I agree.
Okay, we're going to have to take a short break. When we come back, Sean and I are going to, I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about, but I can guarantee.
I got a couple specific laws that are going on in California that I want to talk about.
Okay.
To springboard from what we just talked about that are just going to make you go, what in the world is going on?
Okay.
So we'll go there.
Sounds good. We're talking to our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. We'll be right back after these brief messages. Do not go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay a great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:23 p.m. Pacific time. It's still 54 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Now, that's better than it is in Wichita, but it hasn't gone down. Oh, it just did. It went down to 27 degrees, and it's partly cloudy. But you know what? If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network in London, England, it's 37 degrees, and it's partly cloudy there, too. And if you're in Vienna, Austria, it's also 37 degrees, and it's overcast. But you know what? We're talking to our own Sean Lefebvre in the Geared for Wellness Corner. I got to tell you, I'm having a great time. I haven't talked to Sean in a couple of weeks. I was going through withdrawals. My head was aching, my body was aching, and I was thinking, oh, my God, what's going on here? You know what? Will he still be there when I try to get a hold of him? I'm not sure. You know, but it's the same old Sean. We're together here.
It's awesome. I'm loving it. It's great, Robert. So I'm just glad it went from 55 down to 27 degrees here in Kansas in the last 20 minutes. So anyway, we were talking about these the California and all the laws they're passing, and of course, I'm just at a point where I'm thinking maybe I'll. Hopefully, it'd be nice if I could have a place in California, but set up a home residence in another state to where I'm not subject to all of these laws. And we've got SB. Which one was it? I don't remember what it is anymore. The one that's basically says
that's SOB, isn't it?
SOB, yeah. That's the SOB. Where, doctors, by that Dr. Pan, Senator Pan, put that one out. It's, if children aren't fully vaccinated, they can't go to public or private schools now. They have to go be homeschooled. And then he came out with SB 18, which is the one we talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago, where basically it's giving these children's rights, basically if they don't have, what's considered, a sufficient, home life, sufficient medical care, sufficient living conditions, sufficient whatever, that the government can come in and take them away from you. And you and I both agreed that that law has not yet gone through to either be passed or rejected, but it's up for vote. And it's kind of a scary one, but this one here, there's one, and I don't know if you've heard of it. I just ran across it. It's SB 1322 here in California, or there in California, and it's been approved. It's been passed, and I'll read a couple of parts to it. And I'm really kind of having a hard time wrapping my mind around why the wording was put the way it was, especially in light of that last one that we talked about with, minors' rights and the rights of children for this and that, as if, the parents' rights don't matter. It's what the children want, kind of thing. And so this one here, this SB 1322 is, under the title of Commercial Sex Acts, minors. And it says here that the existing law makes it a crime to solicit or engage in any act of prostitution, which, we're all good with that. The existing law makes it a crime to loiter in any public place with the intent to commit prostitution. Again, that's fine. And here's the kicker, and I'll read more about it here, but it says this bill would make the above provisions, the prostitution, inapplicable to children under 18 years of age who are alleged to have engaged in conduct that would, if committed by an adult, violate the above provisions. The bill would authorize the minor to be taken into temporary custody under limited circumstances. And I thought, is that really what I just read? And so I kind of went through and
are you telling me that an adult goes to jail and the kid gets away, can do this?
That's pretty much what it looks like it says. And it says, except as provided in paragraph 2, subdivision B, subdivision I, every person who commits the following acts is guilty of a misdemeanor. Those who engage in lewd or dissolute conduct in public places, basically public view, public sexual acts. And then here's the bigger one, is those who solicit or who agree to engage or who engages in any act of prostitution. A person who agrees to engage in any act of prostitution when with specific intent to engage, he or she manifests an acceptance of an offer, regardless of whether the offer or solicitation was made by a person who also possessed the intent to engage in prostitution. No agreement to engage in the act of prostitution shall constitute a violation of the subdivision unless some act in addition to the agreement is done. It says, it kind of goes on, and it says basically, last sentence, as used in this subdivision, prostitution includes any lewd act between persons for money or other consideration. Very next paragraph. Notwithstanding paragraph 1, this subdivision does not apply to a child under 18 years of age who is alleged to have engaged in conduct to receive money or other consideration that would, if committed by an adult, violate the subdivision. A commercially exploited child under this paragraph may be adjudged by a dependent child of the court pursuant to paragraph 2 of subdivision 300 of the Welfare and Institution Code, and may be taken into temporary custody pursuant to the subdivision of section 305.
So,
the conditions allowing temporary custody.
But if I'm getting you right, so we can get away from this legalese because it's going to put people to sleep. But the thing is,
I'm done reading. So.
Yeah, the thing is that it sounds to me like if minors are put into servitude with regard to selling themselves for sex and getting money and stuff like that, the minors are not going to be put in jail, nor will they be prosecuted, but they will be removed from the custody of whoever their custodian is and put into the custody of the courts to straighten this whole thing out, and that any adult that may be involved in that activity with or without that minor is going to be prosecuted. That doesn't sound so bad to me.
It doesn't sound so bad
if you put it that way, but I'm not sure I'm right.
And I think that's, and I'm hoping that that's the intent of it.
Yeah.
But what I see happening here is, California, and I kind of looked at some other laws that are applicable to this. Like statutory rape laws, the legal age of consent. Legal age of consent in California is 18. Okay, so they're already covered under statutory rape laws, and it's even written in the laws that specifically states that if two people, both let's say age 17, engage in sexual activity with one another, they can actually both be charged with and convicted of statutory rape. Because the law specifically states that it's illegal to engage in sexual activity with any person under the age of 18, and it does not stipulate the age of the other person. So you could actually both be committing an illegal act with each other and both be convicted of it. And what I see here is the courts rarely are going to convict a 17-year-old having sex with another 17-year-old or 16-year-old and 16-year-old. Mm-hmm. And that happens a lot. Mm-hmm. But what I can see here is what do you do with a 17-year-old who purchases sex from another 17-year-old? You know what I'm saying? Like, but I think what happens if I'm here. First of all, I'm not a lawyer, so I've got to say that. But it sounds like if a 17-year-old paid a 17-year-old prostitute to have sex, whether that both of them could be removed from the custody of their parents and put into the custody of the courts. Sure.
But not incarcerated.
But not incarcerated. Right.
And so, but you know what? It just seems like, gosh, I hope there's a whole lot more to that law than what's there. Can you do me a favor? Is that something that you can scan and send to me? I'd love to read that. I can actually send you the link that you can just read the whole thing right here. Yeah. I've read it a couple times and I went, gosh, it seems like, you know how attorneys are. They just, they interpret things a whole lot differently than we do. That's actually the reason I wanted you to send it to me, because on Friday, I've got I do have an attorney that's on every Friday, and I think what I'm going to do, you're going to send it to me, and I'm going to send it to him, and he and I are going to discuss it on Friday.
Well, I'm going to listen then. You make sure to let me know so I can be sure to be on that.
You bet.
Because I want to hear his interpretation of it. Because I don't know, I just read it and I think, all I think is there are enough people out there who are trying to take advantage of everyone they can. Mm-hmm. And if I'm a pimp in California and I find out that the law doesn't apply to a 17-year-old, and there's a lot of 17-year-olds that look like they're not 17 years old. They don't look like 16 and 17-year-olds did when we were 16 and 17.
Well, that's true, but the law still applies to the pimp. Even though he's pimping a minor, it still applies to the pimp.
Sure, but he's got to prove association. You got to prove association.
Yeah.
That this guy was in fact in charge. But he could say, hey, look, baby, this isn't even illegal. The worst thing that can happen is the state's going to take you into custody. They're going to switching some classes. I can see how this could be manipulated. And
me too. And I'm not sure I see the good or the bad, the good in it. And it seems to me that, it's sort of like, if you were watching the news today and you saw one of the first things that was on the agenda for the new Congress was to eliminate the Department of Ethics for the House of Representatives. They didn't do it. They removed it because of all the controversy that was going on. I think they removed it temporarily, but the thing is that, I would love to have that thing. And if you would like to, let's see, at 4:00 is when the attorney actually comes on the air on Friday. If you'd like to call in, we can do it, all of us together and discuss this thing.
Yeah, I'll send you the link to the official California link to this, or I can even download the PDF and send it to you. But I'll just send you the link. You can download the PDF if you want to.
Okay.
So yeah, well, that'd be great. I'd love to hear more about this one. I'd love to hear an attorney's take on this, because I read this and I heard about it and I thought, you got to be kidding me. That it's why is it that all of a sudden they're amending this to where they're saying, okay, the minors are exempt from this type of law?
Yeah.
Because as much as I want to protect children.
Yeah.
There are a lot of 17-year-olds out there that are sick of their parents and they don't care. They just want to go away, and they go, you know what? The worst thing that's going to happen to these states can take control.
Yeah.
And they know that what they're doing is not illegal. And now you've got a man who, and it could be, and a lot of people think women in this role, but you and I both know California has plenty of male prostitutes.
Oh yeah.
And so you've got, whether it's a male or a female prostitute selling himself or herself to another, typically a man. You don't see too many women going out buying prostitutes. But, so now you got a man who's now going to be charged with prostitution, but also statutory rape,
Yeah.
And so, I just see a whole can of worms opening up to this. It's just kind of a really strange law that I wish I knew what the driving force behind it was, but I just discovered it here just like you did yesterday, and I thought, wow, this would be interesting to talk about on the show. So, we'll get on Friday. We'll talk about it more.
You know what I was wondering too, Sean? Why is it that Johns who are availing themselves of prostitution with minors are not considered, what's the word I want to use? What do they call these? Sexual predators. Why do they not have to register as a sexual predator?
Maybe you're talking about in a prostitution setting.
Well, yeah, right? but if they're a minor, right? And if the minor now, with this new law that may or may not have been signed yet, but if the minor now is not prosecutable, why is it not then that the John would be prosecuted as a sexual predator and have to register on the on whatever that list is?
Yeah, that's a really another interesting question, because obviously when I think of a sexual predator, of course, sexual predators are really good at taking their prey and doing their prey to do so willingly.
Yeah.
So it's not even a matter of assault at that point. And this law, by the way, has been passed. The one that I was just reading to you, it's actually gone through. It was passed. So, but why? That's a good point. I don't know why they're. You would think that, especially in a case like this, if it was with a minor, that why wouldn't they be a sexual predator? And I really, especially if they knowingly engage in an act.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to get tough, let's get real tough.
Yeah, let's get. And I think that's what we need. Is we need to be tough on things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this will be interesting. We'll get together on Friday and talk more about it.
All right, sounds good. Hey, listen, plan on using if you're going to call in, if you plan on it, plan on using the other number, and I'll contact the attorney and make sure he calls in on the other number too, so we can have more than one person on the line at the same time.
Okay, awesome. I'm assuming we still got time to go over some other articles. Right?
We actually are out of time.
Oh, gosh, I had one more I was going to touch on, but we'll touch on them next Thursday. We're back on track.
Yeah, we'll talk. Yeah, we'll toss it. Yeah, you know what? This is like the good old days. We run out of time before you run out of subject.
Exactly.
Hey,
so Robert, it's been fun, and I've had a great time today, and it's so glad to be back on the air with you. It was a nice little break for a couple of weeks, but it's nice to be back on the air. This is definitely the highlight of my week.
Well, it's great. It's great to hear your voice, and it's a highlight for me me too on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I love the banter back and forth that we both have. So it's terrific. I'm glad you're back. Have a terrific and prosperous and safe New Year, and we'll talk to you on Thursday.
Sounds great, Robert. Thanks again.
All right, and thanks for a fantastic show, my friend. Now, the rest of you folks stick around, because when we come back, we're going to be talking about the birthdays for the day, the secret daily teaching for your life, the Harvard business tip of the day, and interesting but useless facts. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:42 p.m. Pacific time. It's still 54 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Madrid, Spain, well, 46 degrees and partly cloudy. If you're Tokyo, Japan, listening to us, it's 48 degrees and it is clear. But you know what? I want to remind you that we're going to be doing a tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story a little bit later on. And today's story is going to be a great one, so you don't want to miss it. It's called Going to Hell with Dr. Morell. It's got an interesting story. You're not going to want to miss this in any way or means of what's going on. And you know what? Let's just get right down to it. It's time for us to do the Harvard business tip of the day. And the management tip today is draw a picture of your business model. You know, growing companies face a predictable problem. Over time, the business becomes too complex for its own good, too intangible, this complexity. Forget over-engineered PowerPoint presentations or lengthy reports. Turn to pen and paper and draw a picture of your business model. Now, here's what does it look like at its most basic level. Make clear in your drawing what really matters to the business. Focus on the key outcomes, whether they're in-store sales or revenue from secondary products. Then think through the write down what causes those things to actually happen. Now, with this picture in front of your team, drive into the implications for what the organization should be focusing on, and more important, what it could stop doing. If a unit can't clearly show a link between what they do every day and the outcomes that they hope to drive, resolve to eliminate it. The simplicity of a hand-drawn model can also help to separate out responsibilities, streamline communication, and determine decisions much more quickly. Yeah, it's all about, sometimes you don't want to use technology. You want to get down to basics. Put it on pen and paper or pencil and paper or chalk and board or whatever, however you want to do it. Well, you know what? It's time for our secret daily teaching for your life. The secret daily teaching is all about a positive mental attitude. And today's secret teaching is just exactly this. The creative process helps you create what you want in 3 very simple steps. Ask, believe, and receive. Now, asking the universe for what you want is your opportunity to get clear about what you actually want. As you get clear in your mind, you've asked what you've asked, right? Now, believing involves acting, speaking, and thinking as though you've already received what you've asked for. And then when you emit that frequency of having received it, the law of attraction moves people and events and circumstances for you to actually do that receiving. Receiving involves feeling the way you feel once your desire has been manifested. Feeling good now puts you on the frequency of what you want. You decide if you're going to be happy or sad, rich or poor, if you're going to be a success or a failure. You do that every morning. When you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror and you say, I'm going to have the most fantastic, magnificent day. It's going to be profitable. It's going to be prosperous. And I'm going to make everybody around me happy. Yeah, and you decide when that's going to happen. Well, you know what today is? Sure you do. Today is January the 3rd, and it is somebody's birthday. Well, we've got some terrific birthdays for today, so you know what? Might as well not waste any time and get right to them because we've got a lot to cover. You know, here's a fellow born in 1892, passed away in 1973, a British writer best known as the author of the classic high fantasy works, The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and the Silmarillion. Silmarillion. I don't know how to pronounce that thing. Anyway, happy birthday to J.R.R. Tolkien. Yeah, absolutely. And here's somebody that we have heard of. I've heard of Tolkien too. Born in 1946, a musician best known as the bassist, keyboardist, and mandolin player for English rock band Led Zeppelin. Happy birthday, John Paul Jones. And finally, an actor born in 1956. I just wound up doing a replay of a lot of his films, and I want to just wish a happy birthday to an actor, film director, and producer, and screenwriter. Happy birthday, Mel Gibson. Absolutely. Well, you know what? I know you've been wondering what's happened in history. I try to tell you every day what happened on this date in history. Today's no different. Sit down in that easy chair, relax. Let me tell you what happened on January the 3rd, 1977. Well, Apple Computer was incorporated on that date. And in 1993 in Moscow, George H.W. Bush and Boris Yeltsin signed the Second Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. They call it START. And in 1994, more than 7 million people from the former apartheid homelands receives South African citizenship. Boy, wasn't that something? And in 1999, the Mars Polar Lander was launched in 1999. Well, we have a great quote for today. It comes from Frederick Netzel. And the quote for today is, "There is always some madness in love, but there is also always, some reason in madness." Yeah, give that some thought. It's a fact. Unfortunately, it's an actual fact. Well, we got a couple of minutes, so let's talk about those interesting but useless facts. Did you know that an elephant could carry up to 2 gallons of water in its trunk? Yeah, that's something. How about this one? Coughing can cause air to move through your windpipe faster than the speed of sound, over 1,000 feet per second. That's something I didn't know. But they always tell you, cover up your mouth, right? So you can imagine when you don't, with that kind of force, how those germs, how they would spread out. Did you know that the first sailing boats were built in Egypt? Yeah, long time ago. And did you know that penguins are only found in the southern hemisphere, primarily in Antarctica, excluding zoos above the equator? So, you got to give it some kind of qualification here. How about iguanas? You know that? Iguanas have a row of spines which run down their back and tail, goes all the way. And lacrosse was invented by American Indians. Yeah, there's an original game for you. And did you know that Akbar, the great Mughal, routed the Hindus under Himu by turning their elephants against them at the Battle of Panipat in the Hindu Revolt? I'm not sure. That doesn't even sound interesting to me. Try this one on for size. In 1764, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart played for the royal family at Versailles in France. He was even given the honor of standing behind the Queen at dinner. Mozart was only 8 years old. Wow. Give that some thought. Let me leave you with this. Thomas Edison was afraid of the dark. So it's no wonder he invented the light bulb. Makes sense, doesn't it? Sure, when you think about it. Well, you know what? We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I'm going to do the tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey in the rest of the story. As I said earlier, today's story is Going to Hell with Dr. Morrell. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back after these brief messages.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39. A complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay a great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:54 p.m. Pacific time. It's still 54 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire. But if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Auckland, New Zealand, it's 61 degrees and it's overcast. And if you're in Lisbon, Portugal, well, 57 degrees and partly cloudy. And right now, it's time for our tribute. Yes, sir. Our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey. You know, the American Broadcasting Company calls him the biggest voice in America. He's Paul Harvey, and each week, millions of listeners, viewers, and readers would await his unraveling of the mysteries of events and the lives of people, past and present. Heard on over 1,400 radio stations, seen on 110 television stations, and read in over 300 newspapers. The rest of the story has for years been exploring the byways in history with revelations that are intriguing, amusing, and surprising. In today's story, well, going to hell with Dr. Morell. Dr. Theodore Morell. What he lacks in competence is compensated for by charisma. He's introduced to prospective patients socially, makes an impression, and the impressionable are hooked. Eventually, in every sense of the term. A specific case for your consideration? Dr. Morell is invited to a private home. His host complains of intestinal trouble. The doctor appears concerned. How long has the discomfort been going on? Intermittently, for quite some time. Nodding pensively and without hesitation, Dr. Morell offers his diagnosis and a suggested treatment. Later, the patient remarks, "Nobody has ever before told me so clearly and precisely what is wrong with me. His method of cure is so logical that I have the greatest confidence in it. I shall follow his prescriptions to the letter." These logical prescriptions include exotic bacteria and hormones and phosphorus and dextrose and belladonna and strychnine. Not enough strychnine to kill the patient, of course. The dangerous, if not entirely evil, Dr. Morell requires the dependence of his patient for money, for prestige, and for his sinister experimentation. After a few weeks, the patient notices an improvement in his condition. His own words are, "What luck that I met Morell. He has saved my life. Wonderful the way that he has helped me." In time, the patient's sense of well-being will be heightened beyond his dreams. For Dr. Morell will add to his prescriptive arsenal amphetamines, speed. By Morell's own admission, his patient was really never sick. Not before he was introduced to Dr. Morell, anyway. Now, it's a different story. Now the slightest complaint is answered by pills and injections, a variety of medications spanning the questionable to the occult. And the result is a shuffling, stumbling, humbling, trembling, emaciated, glassy-eyed, gray-complexioned shell of a man. A human wreck. Submerged in a sea of uppers and downers, he sleeps no more than 3 hours a night. Uneasy sleep. In months, he appears to age just many years. And still, he professes his confidence in Dr. Morrell. Truth is, he needs the speed. In this specific case, the treatments lasted 9 years, astounding considering the quantities of atropine and strychnine and amphetamines consumed by the patient in this period of time. 28 types of drugs in all, their direct and side effects compounded. The speed took the highest toll. We shall never forget nor forgive Dr. Morrell's patient, the man that he was in the beginning, the monster he became. Yet the monumental irony of this association with the megalomaniac physician was that in the end, the master mesmerist was mesmerized. The predator became prey. The name of Dr. Theodore Morrell has dropped into obscurity. Remembered instead is his patient, a speed freak who spent the last decade of his life shattered and shaking and with his hands in the basket. The man who on earth went to hell because of Dr. Morrell. Hitler was high. And now you know the rest of the story. Well, don't miss our show tomorrow, because tomorrow we're not only going to do another tribute to the Paul Harvey, but his story is going to be talk of the town. You're not going to want to miss it. And then we're also going to do a special presentation of a tribute that was done by Red Skelton in a real definition of the Pledge of Allegiance. You're not going to want to miss it. Something really special. Now, tomorrow's show, we're going to be talking about useful tips for you, including the best places to retire. And then we'll have our own Dr. Wireless, Joel Salzman. He'll be here talking about new wireless technology, the news and the tips. And then I'll continue our tribute, like I said, to the late great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Please tell all your friends about our show here on the RLC Broadcasting Network. You'll be glad you did. They'll be glad you did. And I'll be glad you did.
That's our show for today. Beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. Your life will never be the same again. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. You know, the real secret of happiness is to make others believe that they're the cause of it. Robert Cardoza Live is brought to you by blogtalkradio.com every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, go out and make it a great day. Your host has been Robert Cardoza, the technical advisor, Matchstick Digital, and your executive producer, also Robert Cardoza.